What is a veteran note investor's perspective of the journey? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of Note School TV, where every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time, we bring you the most amazing guests. And by the way, today is no different, and the most amazing content. So thanks so much for joining us. Three things I'd love for you to do for me today. Number one, make sure and like the show today. Number one. Number two, make sure and hit that subscribe. And so that if you've not already done so, you will be subscribed to Note School TV so you'll never miss an episode. And number three, make sure and hit that bell notification. Yes, make sure and boom, hit it right now so that you will be notified every week before we do go live. When? At 11:05 Central Time. Also, do us a favor. Keep those comments coming. Eddie and I love to see the comments that you guys send in every week about our guests, about our content, about Note School. Thanks so much. And please, we treasure that. So keep those coming. And lastly, make sure, and if you want more information on what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And finally, what's our motto at Note School? We show you how to close more deals. And now, the news. Well, guys, this is what everybody's talking about everywhere, and we couldn't let it go ourselves. So this week, we're just going to talk a little bit about, well, the surge in mortgage interest rates. They are the highest level since April of 2002. And according to Market Watch, the next several months will undoubtedly be important for the economy and the housing market. So, 30-year fixed rate is 7.2%. 20-year is 7.10. 15-year is sitting at 6.41. You've got a 10-year fixed rate of 6.62, and the 5/1 ARM is 5.39. So we have been calling this for a little while, and I think the Fed, they're doubling and tripling down as far as raising the federal funds rate. So we'll see as we wrap up this year and get into 2023. But right now, this is where we are, and looks like we're going to be there for a little bit. That is the news for this week. And without further ado, I want to bring on my friend, my mentor, Note School's chief visionary officer and all-around good guy, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Hello, Joe.
Well, good morning, sir. How are you?
I am good. We, Joe, we know how to operate in markets that other people don't. That's what this creative finance business teaches us.
That's right.
And so, while a lot of people are going to be negatively affected by it, there's going to be an equal amount of opportunity for those who know how to operate with things like rates going where they are. And so we got a guest today that is this is like old home week, Joe. Seriously, this guy is
yes, it is.
You and I know this guy really, really well. He has been a rock star within Note School's environment, and he also knows how to operate in high rate markets and high rate environments. We say that creative financing fills the void that conventional lending doesn't fill. And also, he's going to talk to us a lot today about something he's had a vast amount of experience with, which is buying loans that aren't paying. Joe, there's about 3 million of those bad boys out in the market.
Well, and Eddie, I was going to bring it on this morning, but I didn't. I may save that for next week for our update, right? But foreclosures are ticking up as we speak.
Oh, there's no doubt. If you're in my shop every day, you are fully aware of the inventory coming in the market. You are fully aware of it.
It is coming.
All right. So this guy has taught me a lot. I hope we got to teach him something.
Yeah.
But we've had a long journey with him. He's a very smart guy. He is, I would just say, really been the ultimate student, because there's a combination of between well-studied, well-prepared, and ready to take action. And that's a combination that's really, critical for maximum success. So, Joe, without any further ado, my friend from Fort Worth, Texas, Mr. Russ Brooks.
Hi, Eddie.
How you doing?
Hey, Joe.
Good morning, sir. You're looking dapper today, sir.
Well, yeah, I just started growing this morning.
Yeah. So we've known Russ a very long time. We've known Russ way prior to the beard.
Yep.
And Joe loves to razz him about the beard. The beard is its own thing, Russ. Right. You just bring it with you.
As the good old boys say from LaGrange, how, right?
Oh, Russ, we're having a fun time today. You've been on quite a journey with us, and you and I have, I would say, either virtually in training or hanging out at various masterminds and events and stuff. You and I've got thousands of hours together.
We do. That's true.
And
working on problems together.
We have mashed through a couple.
Taking away my excuses together.
That's a long story in itself. Listen, guys, I'm going to jump off. You guys have a great interview, and I'll see you when we towards the end there. So have a great show. Have a great interview.
All right, Joe. Thank you. So let's start. Where were you before you started with Note School? Congratulations, by the way, and being in our family. And I'm so glad that you have been. But let's go back. What were you looking for? What was the reason you were looking for us? What started it?
Well, I had spent a tremendous amount of money on real estate training before I came to Note School. And let's just say I was having limited success. Let's put it that way. I was not getting a great return on my investment. And this guy called me up and he was like, hey, I've got this note deal and these mobile homes in this little neighborhood in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't know if it was a deal or no deal. And I'm like, I know this guy, Eddie Speed. He knows something about notes. I'm going to call him up and ask him. So anyway, I went to the seminar that weekend and I walk in and you're explaining to me why my real estate business is not working. Because I've been walking around neighborhoods, seeing all these houses that were in preservation. I thought they were in foreclosure, but what they really were was they were non-performing notes that were being preserved by the bank, and I didn't know how to buy them. And so then I had to explain to my wife why I was spending more money on training. But then I got into Note School, and in short order, I'm buying those assets that I didn't know how to buy. Eddie's explaining how to buy them, and I'm just crushing it. So that's how it started.
It's a true story. So Russ started with us many years ago, 11 years ago, Russ, is that right?
That's correct.
So Russ started with us 11 years ago, and that was after 2008, and that was when all these loans were in foreclosure, but they were in foreclosure and they weren't getting the banks. They had stopped kind of moving them towards what we called REO, right? Moving them as foreclosed properties. And they started cycling them and just selling delinquent notes. This is exactly the pattern we're seeing this time, Russ, by the way. So most of the banks won't take them through to foreclosure. They're going to take them to a certain point and then sell them off as non-performing loans. And that was exactly the cycle we were in. And until you knew that, you didn't know that. The realtors didn't know that. Am I right, Russ? They didn't.
Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that, including me, until I walked in and heard you telling me about it.
Well, I mean, now that you've been very exposed to us, you've been very exposed to our connections, you've been very exposed to how we figure this stuff out, it doesn't seem like a mystery, right?
Well, the thing that was slow, I was slow to figure out, and thank God you saved me on this, is that you find this opportunity and you're like, yeah, this is great. We're going to do this. We're just going to keep doing this. And then pretty soon you can't do that anymore. And most people are fighting the last war. The thing I love about Note School is that I come to the call and Eddie's not talking about the last war. He's talking about the next war. He's talking about the next war. The next opportunity is what it really is, right?
Yeah.
So we went from non-performing notes to performing land contracts, and everybody I know who had something to do with that wished they'd have bought more of those land contracts, including me. And I'm still getting cash flow on those land contracts. Anyway, you see what I'm saying? That there's always, the market is changing every day, and most people that are learning the investing thing don't understand that you're in a shifting battle space and that you need to be aware. And to have Eddie and Note School every day, that intelligence of letting you know which way is the battle going. Okay, I think I see what I need to do now. Right.
Russ, I think as a teacher and a mentor, I think that's probably the highest compliment I've ever been paid, because it is what my heart is. And that is, I got to be on top of the hill with the binoculars on, looking at the direction of the business, not sitting back there because I've been doing it forever, telling old war stories about stuff we did, by God, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That
doesn't make any money.
It doesn't make you any money. And I like the way you said it. You actually said it right. Most people are fighting last year's war. And instead of looking and trying to figure out where the hockey puck is going, not where it's been, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. You really, there's a reason that people look back with either some success or not success. And so since you found Note School, and believe me, guys, it's been 11 years. As you can tell, I know this guy really well, right? And we've had a lot of journeys together. But I want to talk about, like, if you went back and measured maybe the most important cornerstones. Yes, we showed you a market. Yes, we showed you how to execute on that market. But is there been anything about Note School that maybe has just changed your whole perspective of life, or your whole perspective of how you handle things?
Yeah, I could speak to that. I have a completely different attitude about operating outside my comfort zone. Because when I started Note School, I was doing these amazing things, learning about foreclosure and bankruptcy and servicing and title and all this stuff that I didn't know anything about. And I'm in the middle of several deals rolling down the road, getting everything done. And I'm like, I'm operating, I'm making this work. And those are still giving me cash flow too. And I'm just saying that as you move through, it has an effect on you. If I move through life, when I hit a negotiation, and I don't care what it's for, if it's for a house that I'm buying, or like a couple of years ago, my daughter was buying a house, and I was standing there and we were talking to the real estate agent, and I just started channeling Eddie Speed, and we literally shaved $20,000 off the sales price, just because Eddie Speed started coming out of my mouth. And there's just a different level of confidence, and it affects me in my business life. It affects me with my other business partners. I just have a whole nother base of understanding of my place in the world, right? I can, like I said before, I can kind of see the battle space and where I am a little better. And that all came out of Note School. It's hard to explain how that happens over time, but it's undeniable that it happened to me.
Well, I truly appreciate that. I don't know that I started out with extreme raw talent. As a young guy, I was well trained, and I've been highly exposed. you know, and I've continued to invest in training and knowledge, just like you, masterminds and so forth. And those things have all influenced me. And so I've gotten to hang around, I think, the best of the best. And you know, I was going to say something about negotiation, Russ. Most people that understand a little bit about negotiation sort of feel like it's sort of the ability to be obstinate. You know, they think somehow negotiating is being in disagreement or always, let's just be honest with you, whittling on somebody, right? And that's a turnoff to people. That's not the style, right, Russ?
No, that's not getting to where you want to go.
You know, they say that bartering is exchanging numbers and negotiating is finding out what people need and meeting them at their point of need. So you have become very skilled at that, and you just weren't trained, Russ. You're an engineer. By the way, guys, Russ is a really smart guy, like really smart. And he was an engineer and a high level engineer, not just an engineer. And so that wasn't in your training, right, Russ? You just didn't know that.
Never was. Nope.
But it is of a great value. And I think you're right. You know, like there's a balance. You hear this all the time, right? Some people spend too much time getting organized. Some people have a little bit of too much fire ready aim, right? I think, Russ, you've had a good balance. You don't go into battle unprepared, meaning that you've prepped yourself for the decisions you need to make, but you don't think you need to know everything in life just to start. And there's a good balance of that. So, Russ, you may be a short list of people that can actually check yes in this blank, because here in about 2 weeks, Russ, we have the 11th annual Note Expo. 11th annual. Your kids and I have kind of grown up together. Right?
That's true.
Your kids and my kids have kind of grown up together. I remember they were like in junior high school when they started hanging out at Note School events together, right?
Yeah.
Note Expo will be here in a couple of weeks, and tell them about. We're going to play a commercial here in a second, but tell them something about Note Expo that's changed your life.
Well, we live in the Note School family, and we have all this knowledge and camaraderie. And then when we open Note Expo, we kind of let the general public in, right? We let all this, and you meet a lot of interesting people there, and you also get a lot of perspective of where you are in the space relative to the average guy, which actually gives you a little more confidence, because you're like, oh, wow, that's where we're standing. Yeah. But there are opportunities that walk in that door that are completely unexpected. Money opportunities, relationship, friend, entrees into market opportunities that you just don't expect. If you just keep your eyes open and keep talking to people, it's amazing. The amazing people that you meet at Note Expo can change your life.
Well, they've changed mine, and I think they've changed yours. Let's play a reel. Let's talk about Note Expo, and we'll be back in a minute.
We are at Note Expo.
It's amazing.
Phenomenal.
It's just fantastic.
It's like recharging my batteries. I get enthused again. I meet a lot of other people in the business. I get a lot of ideas.
Connections. I've made so many friends over the years of high-level investors, high-level business people.
You get out here and see people who are doing things on a level you're not there yet. So that inspires me.
It's been a great event. Lots of good people, lots of opportunities to network, lots of education, and the vendors are great.
Meeting all the people here, from all over the country wanting to know about notes.
And then the networking is just
all
crazy.
these people has just been stunning.
It's like coming home to a family, and there's a lot of smart people here, and everybody's welcome in. It's always good seeing familiar faces.
I'm sure it's going to empower me and lead to much better growth.
And there really is no other place you can go to figure out what's going on, like in the guts of the industry.
We're
Already registered,
so we have put our money down.
Yes, sir. We're going to be there in a couple of weeks. Russ, the theme of Note Expo this year is now that the market is changing, where is the opportunity and what is the most efficient way to seize that opportunity? And I think we're going to have a lot of presentations that are going to lead to a clarity. And obviously, as you said, the old saying is your network is your net worth, right? And it sounds a little cliche-ish. But after you've been to Note Expo 11 years, is that a truth?
It is. And there's people that I only see at Note Expo, and I'm thinking, I need to find that guy and tie him down and make him do a deal with me this year. Because we've been talking for 5 years, maybe longer than, I don't know, maybe 11 years. I'm like, that guy's an interesting guy. He's he neat anyway. You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going. Okay, so one of the things I like to ask somebody is, particularly somebody like you, Russ, that's been on a journey, like when you buy training or coaching, or you become part of any kind of a network or some kind of ecosystem with people, you're kind of looking for a little bit more of X and a little bit less of X, right? You're looking for something that's more of what you're wanting and something that's maybe what you're not wanting because you've experienced that wasn't necessarily good for you, or it wasn't a value that you thought. What would that might be in our story?
Okay, well, there's actually two parts now that I think about it. But the first part is, one, in the beginning, all I wanted was money. And I was willing to spend whatever time was necessary to just get that money. And then after a little time, I actually got some money. And then I had money and I didn't have as much time. And so I like reconfigured my whole lifestyle, my whole business, because you can do this in Notes to where I had, note cash flow, but I wasn't spending hardly any time at all. It's just, buy the note, board it, record my deposits, right? It was easy, right? And now I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I've got money and I actually have time again. And I'm like, holy cow, I've got money and time and I can play Notes all day long? Really? Happy camper. That was so corny.
By the way, I want you guys to know this, and Russ has been on stage at Note Expo many times for like award-winning deals, like literally award-winning deals. And Russ, this has always been a part-time gig for you.
It has.
You've used your engineering background and software engineering to be a partner and develop a company, and now you guys have exited the business. And maybe some influence that we might have helped you with, made some decision or two along the way. But
it certainly makes it easier in this transition, right, for me.
All right, so lots of deals, lots of stories, non-performing notes, performing notes. You've used these strategies in buying property, creative finance strategies. You've done all of these different dimensions. Let's talk about something you've recently done. If you have a recent deal or two that worth talking about.
Well, let me put it this way. Have you ever played spades?
I have.
You pick up a hand and it's a good hand. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to bid 10. And when you bid 10, you got 3 losers in your hand. Like, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw these 3 losers and I'm just going to lay them down.
Yeah.
Okay. That's exactly where I feel like I am right now. I've got some junk in my portfolio that's been hanging around through COVID and all that, and I'm just cleaning that up.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I'm actually having fun doing it, even though there's not a lot. I mean, I bought these assets when I was drunk on yield. Okay. I was like, yeah, that's a really good return on that. I'm going to buy that, even though it's got all that hair on it. Right. And in fact, they paid. I got all my money out of them years ago. Okay. Yeah. But at this point, I'm getting ready to focus more on, like we're talking about, the change in the market and those kind of assets. I just want to get them taken care of and off the books and get a little cash out of them. And I've been having fun liquidating them and dealing them. And I had a funny little title issue that I fixed the other day. I actually got in the pickup and drove down and looked at the asset, which is something I never do. I never do my own inspections, but it was out in the country and I couldn't hire somebody to do it. And then I was talking to the neighbors about it, and they said, oh, yeah, the people who sold that moved off to this other town. So I drove to this other town. I got there, and I couldn't find the person I was looking for. And I struck up a conversation with a fry cook who was making me a hamburger for lunch. And they said, yeah, they got a real estate office 2 miles outside of town down there. So I went down there, found the sign, and I called them Monday morning. And they had a girl whose job it was to fix that particular title issue that I was having. And she got the issues. Like, she already knew what it was. She knew what the problem was. What had happened is the guy who developed this land back in the 80s, he bought this big chunk of land in the name of his automobile dealership. And then when he sold all the houses, in the name of a real estate company. And so there's a gap in title. And if you pull on that a little bit and figure out who owns what, it's obvious what happened. The guy bought it out of money in one pocket and put it in the other when he sold it. But the title company can't figure that out. But it was easy. She fixed it. Normally that would have been a problem, you know.
We've made a lot of money fixing title.
But I'm just saying, I only bring that story up because there's all these crazy things that are fun that you get to do along the way to solve little problems.
Yeah.
That actually wind up making you money.
You know, the truth of the matter is, Russ, in my career, looking back a longer period of time even than yours, doing something that not everybody knows how to do, really, it became the game changer to making money, right? A lot of people are really weird right now. This market's getting weird. You know, there's a lot of talk about it. You can imagine. And you know, as you heard me say when Joe was talking about rates, and really, honestly, the real estate investor has been more dramatically affected in the last 6 months than even the traditional realtor. Now, the traditional realtor is starting to get affected for sure, but the real estate investor, he was flipping to hedge funds, and he was flipping to these kind of newbies, HGTV buyers, we call them, right? People watching TV and, honey, we can buy this rental. But it's a little hard to pay the prices people were paying because of the interest rate market, you know, and they've all had to adjust their spreadsheets, right? You know, you plug in the minimum yield you need in your spreadsheet, and you know what happens, Russ, it changes the bottom line on your spreadsheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting when you don't use any creative strategies and you're just dealing in a traditional world when things start getting weird. So it's cool to see this. It's cool to see your story. You know, Russ, I would say that you've always been prepared. You've always been willing to dig into a deal, and you know, sometimes people are scared to start because they're thinking, well, I don't know exactly what the end looks like. And so you've always been willing to kind of explore a little bit. Now, people have to remember you are an engineer, Russ.
Eddie, because I'm an engineer, I'm like doing my math on the risk on this thing. And I'm like, there's these 14 things that I don't know. I don't have an answer to. So a person would normally go, I can't do this because I don't know those 14 things. But for me, the answer has always been, it's okay. I don't have to know those 14 things because Eddie knows them. I'll just ask him tomorrow or next Monday or Tuesday, whatever. I'll just ask then. I can get from here, what do I need to do between now and when I can ask him Tuesday? There's something I can do. Okay, I need to do these 4 things so that when I ask him Tuesday, I might not even have to ask him Tuesday if I do these 3 things. But if I still need to know the answer to that, I can ask him Tuesday and keep going. And that has been why I have been able to, as an engineer, even though I didn't know this, still do this.
I think you believed in the ecosystem, right? I mean, that's what it is. You believed in the ecosystem. You realized, by the way, if you ever come to a note school class, you in the audience, you're going to see me whip out some fancy spreadsheets, these graphs that show these crazy perspectives. And about half of them were done by my friend Russ, and he just gave them to us. So, by the way, it takes a village, and you have certainly been a contributor to that village. But yeah, I mean, if I could just convince people sometimes that there's going to be snags on a deal, and that doesn't mean that you lose money. I was listening to you saying you're kind of cleaning up some deals, but you've already gotten back your money. You're just doing something now that takes a little less aggravation. You're moving out of that deal into a better deal. I like you repeated a saying that I've said 1,000 times, which is don't get drunk on yield, because I have seen people so much of the time that look at well, they run a calculator, they learn how to run math a little bit, and then they run the yield, and they're so hung up on that. And I'm like, how much money do you actually make doing it, and how much trouble is it to make that money? Because that's a better question than just the yield, right, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, Russ said you can come back on, but you can't mention his beard again.
I will not. You know, a very wise man once said, if there's no challenges, Russ, that equals no money, right?
Lot being said for that.
And you know what's going to keep me up at night, Russ? The thought of you channeling Eddie when you were negotiating the house deal with your daughter. That just
Hey, I channel Eddie often. I mean, and not just in negotiation. I channel Eddie. Well, usually it's some kind of negotiation, whether, you know, it might not even be a formal negotiation, but I start channeling like the concepts and the understandings that we go over, right? That we learn in note school.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just that. It's ridiculous how much technical knowledge I have about title in states across the country. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was just spouting some obscure South Carolina ruling on foreclosures. I was like, oh man, I really do sound like a nerd.
Well, sometimes you wonder where in the world, you know, Eddie gets all this from, and he just, it's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, how did he know that? Really?
Oh, but we talk about it all the time, right? We go to there are learning opportunities like 3 days a week at note school. And every day you go and there's like somebody said something, we covered a deal, we covered a problem, we learned about something. And it might've been last week or last year. And for me, 10 years ago, I remember that because we talked about it. Right.
Well, you know,
it's fun. I mean, I'm not smart. Russ is smart. I'm not smart, but I am seasoned, right? I've been doing this a long time, and I have a decent memory. And so I think remembering lessons we've learned and how we go about trying to retain those things, Russ, usually when we remember things, it's when it's been tied to a story, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to remember just facts and data when they're not tied to a story. So I don't think it's just that you can give people solutions, but I think you got to give them solutions in a way that has a sticky factor to it. And I hope that's what you're describing, a sticky factor to how you learned it.
Yeah, because there's always a story, right? It's always in the context of some deal.
Well, you know,
if you just gave me the fact on a piece of paper, said, now, Russ, go learn this law about what happens if they do a foreclosure and don't notify the lender in South Carolina. Remember this and recall it 10 years from now. Zero chance. Right. But if I remember the story of the deal and the guy and the lady and it all comes back.
Well, I remember stories like that I've heard you tell and hundreds of other Note School students tell. And, something I learned when I first started flying when I was younger, and there's two types of ways to get experience. There's one called Parker Pen Time. That's where you just go in and you just write time in your logbook and never go do it. And then there's the butt in the seats and the seat, right? And if you don't have that butt in the seat, you may die, right?
Yeah, I want that pilot that has actual butt time, not making up time.
That's right.
Joe, I'm gonna let you take us home. I'm gonna remind you guys, if you come see us at Note Expo, you're gonna get to meet Russ.
Absolutely.
You're gonna get to shake his hand, and you're gonna get to hear a guy with a lot of wisdom about a business he's done very successfully on a part-time basis. Yeah. Mr. Russ Brooks, I love you, pal.
Yes, sir. Right, me too. So, all right, guys. Well, the clock says that in 16 days and a little over 19 hours, we're going to be converging in Dallas, and we are going to start Note Expo. And if you want to meet Russ and Dave Staunton that we had on last week, and Lois from the week before that, and all those people in that commercial, they'll be right there. Just as they have been, and we can't wait to see you. We're going to bring on before we end the show, we're going to bring on a slide with a QR code. Guys, just take a quick picture of that QR code, or just go to Note Expo 22, and you can sign up right there. Again, just 16 days, and we are in the final planning stages, and Eddie says this all the time. He says, I say this every year, but this is going to be the best, and it is, right? The vendors, the people, the contacts, the ecosystem, all of that is amazing. So with that, and if you want more information on Note School and what we do, noteschool.com/TV. Note School, where we teach you how to close more deals. Thanks. We'll see you next time.